Okay, so what comes into your mind when we say density? So basically in radiography, we always associate density with the blackness on the film, the degree of blackness on the film. Okay. However, when we say radiographic density, it does not only pertains to the degree of blackness on the film, but on the overall blackness or the overall blackening on the film. So hindi lang siya basta degree of blackening, but yung overall na presence ng blackening sa ating radiograph. So it is also defined as the opacity or the ability of the radiograph to be penetrated by light. Okay. So the the greater the radiographic density, that means the lesser that light can penetrate through it. Okay. And the lesser the radiographic density on the film, that means it can be easily penetrated by light. Okay? So sabi ko kanina, the degree of blackening on the radiograph is what we call basically as density. Okay? So yan, density, degree of blackening. We are not only particular to the uh, black shades or the darker shades, but the different level of blackening on the film ay tinatawag nating radiographic density. Okay. So, diba? Then we have the view boxes. Okay, view boxes are also called as negatoscope. So normally we can find it in the radiology department. Okay. Some examination room or X-ray examination room have their own view boxes sa bawat rooms. Yung namang iba, makikita lang ang view boxes or negatoscope sa tinatawag nating reading room. Okay? So what is a view box? So a view box is a wall-mounted or portable device with fluorescent light bulbs. Okay? That is covered with a white transparent material used in viewing radiograph. Okay, so ito yan, yung ating negatoscope. Sa loob niyan, meron siyang fluorescent lamps or fluorescent bulbs. Okay? So, covered ng transparent na white material. So, ito yung white material. Okay? So, dyan natin kini-clip yung film or radiograph for viewing. Okay? So, what happens kaya siya merong white transparent cover, okay? Para ma-diffuse niya yung light evenly across the radiograph. Kasi kung mapapansin natin, pag tumingin tayo sa ilaw, di ba, mayroon uh, part ng light kung saan mas maliwanag compared sa uh, mas malayo sa light na medyo hindi na ganun kaliwanag compared dun sa mas malapit sa source ng light. Diba? Kaya meron tayong white material transparent cover para maging equal yung light sa surface. Para maging equal yung light dyan. So, itong view box na to or negatoscope, tinatawag natin itong one panel. Negatoscope ito, two panel. Okay? So, ibig sabihin kasya dito ang dalawang film. Dito isang film lang. Na pinakamalaki is 14 by 17 na film. Okay? So itong one panel view box or megatoscope, meron siyang dalawang fluorescent lamp or bulb. So, di ba fluorescent bulb natin is pahaba. Okay? When you remove the white material, okay, makikita mo dito yung bulb, fluorescent bulb. So sa 2 panel naman, tatlo yung kanyang bulb. Okay? Isa sa gitna and then sa magkabilang tabi. Para maging even yung distribution ng light, kaya siya may white transparent material. Kasi kung wala siyang white transparent material, so let's say ito yung nandito yung dalawang light bulb. So of course, itong area na to super liwanag niya compared dito sa bandang side. Ganon din dito sa kabila. Okay? So para ma-even out at makita ng maayos yung ating radiograph, okay, kaya siya ay merong diffuser ng light. Okay? So, of course, sa digital radiography naman, hindi na tayo gumagamit ng view boxes. Kasi computer na siya nakikita. Okay. So density again, it is the blackening on the film. Okay? So ano naman yung blackening na yan or density na yan? It is the result of the processing of the latent image into visible image. Okay? So bakit? Okay, in the process of may tinatawag tayo attenuation, di ba? So attenuation gives us the images. Okay? So the amount of exposure from X-ray and light from the intensifying screen determines the amount of blackening present after the image processing or image development. Okay, doon sa picture na makikita nyo, so yan yung degree of blackening. Okay, so density. Okay. So air, walang attenuation na nangyari. So of course, black. Okay, sa fat, okay, there are certain attenuation. Okay, much lighter yung shade ng blackening. Okay, and so on. So kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng different terms such as radiopacity or radiopaque and radiolucency, etc. Okay. Okay, so the presence of density and the many different degree or levels of densities across the surface of the film makes the visible image. Okay? And of course, this visible image is the key to radiographic interpretation. Siyempre, kung wala kang image, di ba, wala namang i-interpret yung ating radiologist. Okay? At kung wala rin namang density, wala rin tayong contrast. Di ba? So the part of interest must be visualized with the appropriate level of density to make it visible. Okay? Kung walang density, walang contrast. Kung iisa lang naman ang degree of density or level ng density, wala ring contrast. Therefore, walang image na makikita. Okay? Kaya it is very important for us to use the appropriate level of density or to create the appropriate level of density by using proper or correct technical factors. Okay? Kaya sabi dito, without proper density, other factors of definition may lose their significance. Okay. Di ba we have do sa photographic properties. Okay, we have the density and contrast. Kung walang proper density, of course, mawawala ng silbi yung contrast. Why? Because there will be no image that can become visible. Example, napataas yung iyong MAS, so nasunog yung image. So of course, kahit na sabihin natin, okay, there is some presence of um, contrast. Kahit paano, may nakikitang image kasi may konting contrast. But the problem is, hindi siya ganun ka-visible, hindi siya ganun ka-detailed. So therefore, kahit may contrast na konti, it loses its significance in the interpretation of the radiograph. Okay? Okay, so next. So we have to differentiate radiographic density from tissue density. Okay. Because when we say density, we only not speak about the degree of blackening or the blackening of the radiograph on the radiograph, but also we talk about the composition, the nature, characteristic of tissues, of contrast media, and foreign bodies. Okay? Because these things may produce different levels of densities also on the radiograph. Okay, so the density of the skeleton. Okay, we are now talking to the density. Okay, the compactness of the tissue. So the skeleton is a bone tissue. Okay, so it is more dense or denser than the muscles, and teeth are more dense than bones. On the contrary, lungs or lung tissues are less dense than teeth, bones, and muscles. So therefore, they have their own degree of radiographic densities. They have their own degree of tissue densities at the same time. It depends, or the radiographic density or the density on the film depends on the tissue density as well. Okay? So sa madaling salita, nakakaapekto yung density ng tissue sa radiographic density. Okay? Naintindihan po? Pwede natin sabihin na yung density ng tissue ay kapal ng tissue or kapal ng body part. Okay? So it can be described as yung thickness. Okay? But it is not just the thickness, but katulad sinabi ko na kanina, nature. Okay? Characteristics sa contrast media, dahil siya ay high atomic number, so mas dense at mas nakaka-absorb ng radiation yung contrast media. Then foreign bodies. Okay? Sa foreign bodies, normally, ano ba yung mga nalulunok ng mga bata? Normally naman ang may foreign bodies na pasyente ay either trauma patient na na either na may nakabaon na bala, may pana, or may napako, etc. Di ba? Bukod doon sa mga bata, yung mga nakakalunok ng barya ng piso, ng 10 pesos, na coins. Okay? So, yan. So normally mga metallic objects And of course, metallic objects are high atomic number. So they absorb more radiation, and of course, these objects are more dense than uh, lung tissues, fats, etc. Okay? Mas denser ang metallic objects kaysa sa bones. Okay? Kaya madali natin silang ma-identify kaysa isang radiograph. Okay. So as you can see in the images, okay, we have an X-ray of the skull, epilateral. Okay, you can see there that diba, may mga different densities ng body parts. Okay, so kung makikita nyo dito, okay, this is the calvarium. Okay, composed of the cranial bones. Pagdating naman dito, makikita natin yung sinuses. Okay, na hindi masyadong dense because the sinuses are filled with aerated tissues. Okay, yan, yan, sinuses, frontal sinus. Okay, okay, dito naman sa chest, sa nakikita nyong image ng chest, actually this is not a chest x-ray, but this is a special radiographic procedure called barium swallow. Okay, barium swallow or esophagography. Okay, so as you can see, yung barium, okay, nagta-travel siya papunta sa stomach. Okay, from the image you can see the entire esophagus. Makikita ko may constriction sa esophagus or what. And if you would compare the density of barium to the bones, di ba? Sobrang magkaiba. Kasi sobrang white in color yung ating barium compared sa ating bones. Okay? Na hindi naman ganoon ka-solid yung pagka-white niya. Okay? Okay, in the third image, yan, we have a patient na nakaswalo ng coin. Ayan, o, kitang-kita, coin. Okay. So, madalas, makaka-encounter tayo ng mga patients or ng ganitong klase ng pasyente. Hindi yan mawawala sa buong talambuhay mo as a rad-tech. Makaka-experience ka niyan. Okay. Minsan may darating sa inyo na pasyente, hindi alam ng magulang kung anong oras nakalunok ng barya yung anak, yung bata. Okay? So usually, chest x-ray lang kapag naagapan or maaga-aga pa yung pagkakalunok ng coin. Pero kapag lumipas na siya ng, let's say, 12 hours or 8 hours, so usually, sinasama na siya ng abdominal x-ray. Kasi baka mamaya, nasa baba na pala yung foreign body. Okay, sorry about that. So, yan. Ito, nagka-travel yan pababa. Punta sa stomach, sa intestine, okay? sa colon, kaya nasa may labas ng bata or ng patient yung foreign body or metallic foreign object sa kanyang katawan. Okay? So, di ba, very different yung kanyang density compared sa bones. Okay?
So, bakit puti na po anak ko?
Okay, very good. Okay, pupuntahan natin yan in a later slide. Okay, meron siyang kinalaman doon sa tinatawag nating attenuation. Dahil dyan babalikan, dapat yung balikan yung anong interaction with matter, X-ray interaction with matter na may kinalaman sa attenuation or absorption. Do you still remember? So you have to go back and remember the theory, X-ray interaction with matter, particularly with photoelectric absorption or photoelectric effect, di ba? Okay. So tissue density, okay, we have 5 categories or 5 groups of tissues when it comes to radiography. We have the aerated tissues. When we say aerated tissues, these are tissues na may mga air or hangin, katulad ng ating sinuses, lungs, okay? Yan ay may mga aerated tissues. Then, of course, you have the fatty tissues. Okay, the water or tissues with high concentration of water or fluid. So, usually ito ay mga muscles. Okay? Paano natin masasabing muscles? Okay? So, syempre, yung ating mga muscles ay with blood vessels naman. So, sabi ko hindi lang naman yan water, kundi pati body fluid. That includes the blood, of course. And then, bone and teeth. So, sila yung pinaka-dense sa 5 category or 5 group. So, makikita nyo, and so dito, makitang-kita natin yung ngipin, iba yung kanyang pagka-dense sa compared sa bone. Mas denser ang ngipin compared sa ating buto. Okay? So, aerated tissues such as lungs, okay, kailangan lang nila ng small amount of exposure to record the appropriate level of density. Okay, so that means hindi kailangan ng mataas na technical factor. Okay? Then, fatty tissue naman ay, of course, sumunod siya sa aerated tissues when it comes to tissue density. Then we have the muscles or tissues with high water content. And then, of course, the bone and teeth, which are the most dense tissue in the body. Okay, and they require the greatest amount of exposure. So, kahit na naririnig natin yung mga ganyan, greatest amount of exposure, okay, we should not forget that we should be able to perform radiographic examinations, okay, within ALARA. Okay? So, ano yung ALARA? What does ALARA principle means? Okay, so as low as reasonably achievable. Okay, so next, so how do we measure density? Okay, we measure density by using a device called densitometer. Okay, once pala ako nakakita ng densitometer sa Talambuhay Quasarate. It is when the X-ray machine, the brand new X-ray machine, is being installed by the biomedical engineer of the supplier. So, nung na-assemble na nila yung machine, so they will perform the acceptance testing. Okay? Mag-expose sila ng film to know kung naka-center ba yung light and X-ray beam, kung naka-center ba sila, yung collimation ba sa pantay, sa BCH, at saka sa table, at etc. Kung ano pa tinitest. Okay? So once lang ako nakakita. At ang nakita kong densitometer is itong handheld densitometer. Okay? So to the densitometer ay may tin hole. At doon sa pinhole na yon, okay, yun yung nagbabasa ng density ng film. Okay? Okay, so lahat ng area ng radiograph ay pwedeng basahin ng ating densitometer. Okay, so the optical density reading are more useful between 0.25 and 2.0. So yan yung diagnostic density or density useful for diagnostic purposes. Okay? So kapag siya ay umabot na ng 3.0, so hindi na siya maganda sa radiographic density. Okay, so yung 0.25 na reading, normally yan ay logarithm. Okay, so sila yung mga area na konti lang yung blackening. Ibig sabihin mababa yung density. Okay, on the other hand, yung 2.5 ang area na ayun, mayroong almost covered siya ng blackening. Okay, however, ulitin ko, pag siya ay lumampas na ng 2.5 at tumabot ng more than 3 pataas, so yan, hindi na siya useful para sa atin. Okay, so now punta tayo sa attenuation. Okay, so what is attenuation? Okay, so sa RT 202, okay, we define attenuation as the partial attenuation as partial what? Partial absorption. Very good. Okay? So, ano ba yung nangyayari sa X-ray beam or sa useful beam natin? Okay. We know that the useful beam, siya ay usually nasasala na dahil may mga filter tayo. So, matataas na yung energy niyan. Okay? However, once the useful beam interacts with the body of the patient, okay, yung energy ng X-ray photon ay na magta-travel papunta sa ating radiograph ay unti-unting nagkakaiba-iba. Okay? So dyan napapasok yung ating photoelectric absorption, photoelectric effect. Okay, now-gets mo ba? So as the photon beam emerges from the body and strike the film, hindi na siya uniform beam. So areas with almost complete attenuation produce very light radiographic density. Okay. So tanong kanina ni Earl, bakit po yung sa portion ng ibaba ng diaphragm ay ano sabi mo, mas white?
Yes po, sir.
Sobrang opaque. So, ibabalik ko sa iyong tanong. What anatomical structures can be located sa area na yan? Ano-ano anatomical structures?
But po, sir, that is the abdominal area po, right? Or the cavity.
A portion of the abdominal area. Upper portion.
So that should be through the diaphragm po. And the diaphragm is the stomach.
Okay. So magbasa muna tayo ng radiograph. Okay? So according sa radiograph, itong portion na to ay left. This is the left side of the body. This is the right side of the body. Paano natin nasabing left side? Ito at itong right side because of the marker. Okay? Ang marker ay letter L. So that means nandito yung letter L sa side na to. So basically this is the left side. Okay? Kita natin yung heart, siya ay in normal position. Okay? So tama ka, this is the diaphragm. Okay? Kaya nandyan yung costophrenic angle. Okay? This is where the stomach is. Okay? So how about ditong area na to? Ano to?
It's the liver po.
Very good. So liver. So the liver is malaki-laki siyang organ. Okay, at the same time, siya ay highly vascularized. Okay? Siyempre, hindi lang liver ang nandyan. Ano pa? The kidneys are also located there. Okay? Dito rin. Hindi lang kidneys. Ano pa meron? Meron ding pancreas. Okay? So, ano pa meron? Bukod doon. Sa ibabaw ng kidney, merong adrenal gland. Okay? So, kaya siya ay very opaque. Kasi mas makapal yung area na ito compared mo sa lung area. Mas denser ang anatomical region na ito compared dito. Bakit mas denser? Dahil sa mga internal organs na maaaring nag-overlap. Okay? So dito, mapapansin mo may hangin. Okay, so possible na. Kaya isa sa palatandaan natin yan, yung hangin na yan ay nandiyan ang stomach. Okay? So sabi dito complete attenuation, very little radiographic density. Okay. Complete attenuation meaning, hindi na yan partial absorption. Kung hindi totally na-absorb niya. Okay? Kaya siya ay, kung na-absorb niya yung X-ray photons, what will happen to the X-ray photons that pass through the region. So what will happen? Will happen? There's na-absorb nga ng mga denser at anatomic structure na yan, yung ating X-ray photons. So, konti na lang yung mga katagos papunta sa ating radiograph, sa area na yan. Okay. So, ano ba nangyayari sa ating radiograph kapag ang ating radiograph ay tinamaan ng X-ray photon or light photons? Ano nangyayari?
Nagda-darken.
Okay, very good. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng blackening sa radiograph. Eh kaso, either walang tumagos or konti lang yung tumagos. Okay? Ano nangyari? Na-absorb. Okay? At dahil na-absorb, walang blackening na naganap. Okay? Any questions? Okay. So, again natin duration. Okay, controlling factors for density. So, of course, the major controlling factor is MAS because it controls the quantity of X-ray photons. The more X-ray photons, okay, the more blackening on the film. Diba? So, yung FFD or SID can also be considered as a controlling factor, but, okay, but we must remember that in our examinations, meron tayong uniform na distance. Okay. At dahil sa uniform na distance na yan, okay, nagkakaroon tayo ng or hindi natin masyadong na-utilize yung SID or FFD as controlling factor for density. Kasi kapag nilapit natin masyado, okay, nagkakaroon ng magnification. Okay? Kaya siya merong specified or uniform distance. Okay? At dahil sa uniform distance, so hindi na siya nagiging or nawawalan na to ng control sa density. Kaya ang maiwan na lang na controlling factor sa density ay ating MAS. However, yung distance ay matatawag pa rin natin na secondary or affecting factors. Okay? So changing the MAS, it is the primary method to control the blackening of the film. So the relationship between MAS and density is directly proportional. So if MAS is doubled, the density will also be doubled. Okay. Then if the MAS is reduced to half, so accordingly, the density will also be reduced by 1/2. Okay? So directly proportional. MAS and density. Okay, the more photons available as the beam exits the body, okay, the more exposure on the film. Siyempre, mas mas maraming tumagos na X-ray photons. Okay? Mas maraming X-ray photons ang mako-convert into light photons at magpapass through sa ating film. So as the MAS is increased, the X-ray film receives more exposure. Okay, so yun na sinabi natin kanina na the sensitivity specs in the film emulsion. So di ba ito yung located sa ating emulsion. Ito yung mag-attract ng silver ions at itong silver ions na to kapag tinamaan ng X-ray photons or ng light photons ay magiging metallic silver. Okay? At syempre itong metallic silver na to, ito yung ating black image. Okay, at ito yung magproproduce ng blackening. Okay, the maximum density level that is photographically useful or useful in the diagnostic imaging is 2.00. Okay? So measurements 3.0 plus may be obtained, but at this level it is not important to the radiographer. Okay? The naked eye cannot differentiate density levels in this range. Okay. So once the total blackness on the film occurs, all silver in the emulsion has been changed to black metallic silver. Okay, that means kapag na-expose yung buong film natin, so basically lahat siya ay or the film will turn into black. Wala tayong makikitang image, hindi siya translucent, kung hindi siya ay totally black. Okay? So in photographic range, to see a visible difference in density on a radiograph, okay, one must increase the MAS by at least 30 to 35%. Okay, so now we go to kilovoltage and density. Okay, so sabi natin kanina, it is the MAS that is the controlling factor for density. However, KB or kilovoltage can also affect the density. So paano pamamaraan? Okay? So an increase in the KBP will result in the increase in density recorded into the film. So bakit po? Bakit siya? Or bakit pag nag-increase tayo ng KBP, mag-increase din yung density sa film? Okay, remember that KBP is responsible for the quality, for the penetration power of the X-ray beam. So kung ang mga X-ray beam ay magpe-penetrate sa mga anatomical part, so basically, it will deliver density or may density tayong makikita sa film. Okay? Dahil tatagos yung or magpapass through sa body part at magkakaroon ng contact ngayon yung ating X-ray or light photon sa ating mga uh, or sa ating radiograph or sa ating film. Okay? So that's why it also contribute to the increase of density. Okay? So however, the relationship between density is not like MAS and density. Hindi sila directly proportional. Okay? Kaya diyan papasok yung pinag-usapan natin last time na 15% rule. Okay, so an increase, so do sa 15% rule, it is used to predict changes in the density levels with KBP. Okay, so magbabago tayo ng technical factor. However, yung image quality niya or yung density niya and contrast would remain the same. So when KBP increase, more scatter radiation is produced, which adds density on the film. So yan ay another action or interaction ng density and kilovoltage. Okay, so naintindihan po ba yung ating primary technical factors or controlling factor? And then the relationship between KVP and density. Okay, so now we proceed to the secondary factors. Okay, so the first is the anode hill effect. Okay, so paano siya nakaka-apekto? Okay, so X-ray originates from the focal spot, okay, and travels to all direction. And the focal spot is located in the anode side. However, dahil sa angulation ng ating rotating anode, okay, so the intensity of the beam is less on the anode side of the primary beam. Okay. Kasi siya ay tumatama sa anode hill. Okay, so let us go back. Anong ibig sabihin ng anode hill effect? Or ano ba nangyayari sa anode hill effect? Anyone? So nakalimutan na ba uli si anode hill effect? So ano na nangyari kay anode hill effect? Nakalimutan na ba? Parang kailan lang, nagre-recitation lang tayo tungkol dyan ah. Okay, nagkakaroon ng decrease sa intensity ng beam sa anode side due to the angulation, di ba? Kasi nga yung ibang X-ray photons na due to their angulation ay tumatama sa anode at yung anode natin syempre siya ay made of gawa siya sa tawag na high atomic number material, so na-absorb na yung mga X-ray photons. At dahil doon, nagkakaroon ng scarcity doon sa anode side ng number of photons, X-ray photons. Diba? Okay, sige. Let us continue. Okay, so yan nga. The loss of intensity is a result of traveling further to the anode portion. Kung nakikita nyo sa image, so natatakpan ng anode yung dapat ay maaari pang sakupin ng angulation or ng X-ray primary beam. Yun nga lang, dahil sa anode hill, nababawasan yung angulation niya. At hindi lang angulation, pati yung X-ray photons. Okay?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yung effect po, normal po siya. Sa pag-X-ray po.
Yes, it is normal na because ang mga ginagamit nating mga X-ray tubes, usually ang ginagamit na anode ay rotating anode. Rotating anode na wala na tayong makikita na stationary anode. Kasi it is more efficient and cost-effective kapag ang ginagamit na X-ray sa X-ray tube ay rotating anode instead of a stationary anode.
So, kino-consider na po yung anode hill effect sa ilalapat mo ng effect factor?
Yes, at the same time, pati yung positioning. Ang pinaka-key naman talaga is positioning. Di ba kaya nga ang remedy, kung babalikan natin yung nasulat sa book, di ba ang remedy, ang solution is to put thicker part under the cathode instead of under the anode side. So mas yung mga thin part ng body, yun ang dapat nasa ilalim ng anode side. So let's say sa hand, okay, yung nasa digits or phalanges, siya dapat yung under the anode. And then yung carpals or metacarpals, siya yung under sa cathode side. Okay? Nakuha po ba? Kaya dapat hindi natin ito makakalimutan kasi matik na to na lagi natin ipoposition ang thicker part ng body to be examined sa anode side. Sa cathode side. Okay po. So a larger field size and a shorter FFD will produce a more noticeable anode hill effect on the finished radiograph. Okay. So isa pang remedy dyan is pagkakaroon ng uniform at sufficient na taas in order for the effect of the anode hill to be lessened. At the same time, hindi lang yon, pati yung magnification, yung detail ng image ay of course nakasalalay sa SID or FFD. Okay, so the angle of the anode structure, so yun na nga yung primarily affect sa presence ng anode Hill effect. Okay, the Hill effect will increase with the decrease of the anode angle. Okay, so kapag ang angle ay yung binawasan, so mag-increase yung effect ng anode Hill as can be seen in letter A and letter B. Pag letter B naman, na-compare mo yung angulation, so ayun, dito, ba, hindi lang yung itong ray na to yung affected sa anode Hill, kundi pati yung middle. Samantalang dito, okay na apektuhan ng konti yung sa side, pero yung middle is free from the anode Hill effect. Okay? Kaya longer FFD, longer SID, smaller field size, okay, will reduce the consequence of the anode Hill effect. Then equipment, calibration, and operation. So may kinalaman ba sa density? Yes. Kung hindi properly calibrated ang iyong X-ray machine, so that can result into wrong value of technical factors. Okay. So kaya kailangan lagi calibrated yung ating X-ray machine. Okay? Processing of latent image or developing. Nakaka-apekto ba sa density? Yes. So, yung sinasabi yung time, temperature relationship in processing radiograph. Kapag tinanggalan mo ang sausaw ng radiograph sa developer, so definitely it will increase density. At kapag mas mainit ang iyong solution, mas tataas ang density sa film. Okay? Okay, any questions? Okay, so mukhang walang question. Film type. May epekto sa density. Okay, film types that contain increased amount of silver halide crystal will increase density as well. Okay, so affecting factors. Okay, film size, film type, and number of silver halide crystals. Okay. So, kung ang film type ay nakaka-apekto, syempre ganun din ang screen type. Or yung ating intensifying screen. So, IS increase density on the film by intensifying the action of the X-ray. As the screen speed increases, the density will increase. So therefore, less exposure will be needed to keep density at an appropriate level. Okay? So itong reduction of exposure, so yung bilis ng screen type ay kinapatunayan na mas mabilis ang mga rare earth materials. Okay? Characteristics of tissue or the density of tissues, composition, etc. Mas makapal, mas compact ang structure. Okay? Mas ma-absorb ang X-ray photons and therefore less density. Okay? Ano pang makaka-apekto? Mga diseases or pathologic processes. So we have the additive diseases. So these are abnormal conditions. Okay, so they require added exposure or increase in technical factors. Okay, so dyan yung makikita yung some of the tips or rule of the thumb when it comes to additive diseases na magpapa-X-ray. Okay, so yan. At nandito yung mga uri ng diseases and the increase in technical factors. Acromegaly, actinomycosis, ascites, carcinoma, etc. Okay? Siyempre, kung may mga additive disease, ibig sabihin pag sinabi additive disease, okay, kapag ang pasyente may ganitong disease, we add any question? Okay, questions? Siyempre kung may additive, may destructive diseases. Okay, so sa additive, kung dito sa additive, mag-increase tayo ng technical factor. Sa destructive, magbabawas naman tayo ng technical factor. Okay? So, ng mga klase ng example ng destructive diseases, we have the bowel obstruction, mga cancers. Okay? Questions? Questions? Walang questions? So that ends our lecture for today.